You are listening to the Age of Heroes podcast, a podcast dedicated to pop culture, fandom, and the geek world. My name is JP Sarricolea. I am a digital creator committed to inspiring others to pursue their passions, their dreams, and goals. I am sitting down with creators and influencers from all walks of life to talk about their work, their experiences, and how to make a positive impact. Welcome to the show. Hey guys, how you doing? JP Sarricolea here, and welcome again to another episode of Age of Heroes. This week's episode of Age of Heroes. Thank you to those who've been watching this, following this season, watching all the interviews, watching every video, whether you're also listening through the different platforms. Thank you for the support. Today we have a great guest, a good friend of mine. Person. I think he's a friend of a lot of people because he is such a friendly guy. And this is Omar from Near Mint Condition. Definitely a hero to a lot of us because we need him we need him. He's the guy that is giving us all the information that we need to know about comics. He is just celebrating recently his second anniversary doing YouTube as a full-time job. And it's been a fantastic ride to see him shine and grow every step of the way. It's amazing to see him doing what he's doing right now. So I want to say, welcome, Omar, to the podcast once again. This is the second time you're here, and I know your time is precious, so I definitely am grateful for this.
The pleasure's all mine. I'm serious, man. I mean that. Thank you so much for working with me to kind of fit me into your schedule too, because I know sometimes you get busy, and then I was like, oh man, that those couple of weeks that you asked me to do it, I was already planning ahead to do other type of videos, but. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on again. It's been a couple of years, man.
Yes, this is amazing because I invited you to the podcast, it was like 2 years ago, and that's when you were just recently getting into doing this thing full time. But seeing what you've been doing in the last 2 years, how your channel continues to grow, and the content and everything. You're doing daily videos, more than one video a day, which I know is stressful. Recently, you had a video with your friend, Q&A with Andrew, and you were sharing a lot of things. It was a fantastic video. You were sharing from your heart. You can see how sincere and honest you were there, sharing the struggles, the ups and downs of what you're doing, and also how happy you were and what you're doing. It's amazing to see that. And how you feel about it. It's been 2 years, and definitely, it's been crazy, but how do you feel deep inside about what you've been doing?
Man, very blessed and very humbled. It's so weird to me still that I get to do this for a living, and it's something that that started off as something fun to do, and then I did it with my group of friends, and then I started noticing a change in what was bringing more people to the channel. And of course, I think, oh my gosh, losing my job was one of the worst things that could have happened to me. I was in IT for 20 years, and losing your job and starting over because nobody was hiring during that time. A lot of us lost our jobs. It was horrible. But at that time, it was just the worst thing that could happen to me turned into the best thing that could have happened to my career, which it's still in the back of my mind. Like, did I make the right decision giving up 20 years of a career to do YouTube for a living? Because I'm not in my 20s, I'm not even in my 30s anymore, I'm 45, and this stuff just, to me, is a young man's game or a young lady's game. It's just, it didn't make any sense to me. But holy crap, man, it's been a blessing. It's been stressful, and it's been a wild ride is all I can say. And I'm just glad I'm here, and I'm still doing it. When you interviewed me, I think, things were still fresh, things were still new. I was still like, can I do this? I don't know if I could do this. Like, things were, were still on the mind. Like, but now doing it full time for 2 years, it's like, wow, I've learned a lot. And there's a lot to this, a lot to YouTube. It's not just as easy as filming a video, putting it out there, and maybe a video goes viral and then people find you and they come back for more stuff. No, it's about constantly putting out a product that people want to come back to. And if you don't treat it like that, then people will go away. The moment you try to take it easier, like, oh, I don't need to read this book, I'll just wing it, Like, people will notice, and that's something that I've always held like uh that's something that I've always taken seriously. This is my job and this is how I'm going to treat it. Um, and I think, because of that, people kept coming back to my channel, and
Mm-hmm.
then other publishers took note of what I'm able to give them kind of what it is. Really, it's almost like it's market share research for free. Like
Mm-hmm.
they get to see what the audience wants, and they get to hype up the audience like, hey, this is coming out. So it's been a really crazy ride, brother. I will say it's been a crazy ride.
Yeah, I think one thing that I definitely admire about you, and I've seen since I've been following your channel even before you went full time. It's it's just your work ethic. You are a person that you have embraced this fully. And it's not just like, hey, let's just do it, whatever. Everything you do is with quality. I feel that your videos have improved, tenfold. Your videos are better. The editing is better. Of course, you're getting now people who are helping you, but for the most part, you're the one doing almost everything. But like you said, also when you talk about a comic book, you're not just simply, like you said, winging it. You are getting into in depth into the book, into the stories. You're giving people value, and to me that's not an easy thing, because we only see a small video, perhaps a 5-10 minute video, but there's a lot of work that gets into produce that video. From the moment that you have to prepare for your content, you have to study the material, you have to read it. Like even as a comic book reader, I love to read comics. Sometimes I have to refresh my memory because I've been reading so many comics for pretty much all my life. Is sometimes I have to go back to the material to read it again so I can give an honest opinion. That takes a lot of work. Do you even take any time to really rest in the whole thing? Because it seems to me that you are invested 100% all the time into this.
I I think since I went full time with this, I've treated it like owning your own business. And for anybody that has ever owned their own business, they can tell you like there is no such thing as vacation or sick days. You don't
Mm-hmm.
take off. That's the thing. Because you take off, you don't get paid. And it's the same thing with YouTube, right? You don't
Mm-hmm.
put out a video doesn't get monetized. You have to rely on your backlog. And it's been crazy, but to treat it like that and to treat it like a job, like getting up, like, doing things, because I think there definitely is, and I know you appreciate this because you've put out videos for years, so the hustle, I
Mm-hmm.
guess we can call it that, to making a video. Now, I'm not saying everybody's like this. I think everybody work ethic is different than
Mm-hmm.
mine, and I'm not saying mine is any better, but I treat it like this is not even a 9 to 5, brother. This is like a 7 to like 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
kind of job. It's sometimes later.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's like, yeah, man, I can't hang out tonight, dude. I gotta edit. I gotta get this video out.
Yeah.
And it's funny because my friends are starting to understand. Like, I go on a camping trip with my friends every year.
Uh-huh.
Last year was the first year that I was like, I can't go, guys. The year before that, I had enough videos. But what happened is last year, YouTube started changing
Mm-hmm.
the way that you got paid out. And instead of using their regular Google AdSense,
Mm-hmm.
they instituted this new thing called YouTube Revenue,
Yeah.
which dropped everybody's revenue across the board about 30 to 35%. It was ridiculous. That's why I mentioned this on my 2 year review. Like, that's why you
Uh-huh.
saw a lot of channels like going to Patreon route or
Mm-hmm.
going other routes and asking people for money or sponsorships. And it was rough, right? So I was like,
Yeah.
well, now I got to work twice as hard to make exactly what I made last year to come out even, because it almost like you work on it's like working on commission.
Mm-hmm.
1 month you'll do phenomenally, and then the next month it could be a slow month. You never know. Um, because at least that to me is the one way of making it on YouTube is you
Mm-hmm.
put everything into it, you treat it and respect it like a job. There are other ways, of course, right? Like you make a viral video.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, you make a viral video, 2 million views. That's amazing. You filmed your
Yeah.
dog, attacking your cat, and then they're hugging it out. I don't know. And then you make a video after that every week, and some of the people like keep coming back to these videos,
Mm-hmm.
right? But sometimes I think that happens too out there. The algorithm is just whack. Sometimes you never know what's gonna go big,
Mm-hmm.
and a video that you've been pouring your heart and soul into doesn't perform as well, and you're like, oh well, that sucks. Pick myself up and keep on trucking, you know.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's just as a thing, but you know, like I was saying, it's just I can see how consistent you are. It to me, it's amazing. As a person who has done videos for a long time, for over 10 years now, I know just to look at the stuff you put out, I know how much work that takes, and I know that it's not for the faint of heart. Not everyone is built to do this. You have to have a specific type of person. You have to have a specific type of personality. You have to be a go-getter. You have to be the type of person that wants to see it through till the end, no matter what. And that is, I think, perhaps the secret. Would you agree with that? Because you're type of, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, is that you're the type of person that once you start something, you're gonna see it through no matter what, whatever comes your way. You're gonna finish it because you are a perfectionist in a way. Would you agree with that, or would you disagree with that?
My personality, absolutely. I stayed in relationships way longer than I should have because I thought I could fix this. I've read some really crappy books. I'm not pointing back here on purpose. Any books that I had that I've actually gone from cover to cover because I thought, well, it might get better. Sure, the first 20 issues were horrible, but maybe the last 4 will be gold. You know, no matter what, I stick with it. So that is my personality. One thing you nailed on the head, though, about having to do this for a living. I think there is definitely a misconception. I know from my part, looking at YouTube, about how, wow, to be doing that for a living is a dream. It is. It is an amazing dream. But a lot of that comes with stress too. Like I don't sugarcoat it. Whenever I did my 2-year, my 1-year anniversary, how detrimental it can be to your health because you're putting out stuff. And I thought the same thing. Like I thought, oh my gosh, to be doing videos for a living, this is easy. You get up whenever you want to, you go to sleep whenever you talk about comics. How hard can it be? You edit together and put a video together. And now everybody does things a little bit different, right? Like you have channels out there that release 1 video a week or 1 a month. And I kind of envy those channels.
Oh yeah.
I wish I had set that bar instead of doing it every day. But there's so much to editing and then so much to behind the scenes of prepping and reading, because that's the important thing to me, right? It's like getting the to do the reading and to give an overview justice without like if a company is nice enough to send me a product, then I have to do that justice. I can't just put it to the side and then, like, I don't know, sell it, right? Or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how anybody else does things on YouTube. But I was when I used to write magazine articles, companies would send me manga or toys, and I don't know. I always wondered, how does everybody else do this? Like, how does everybody else treat their reviews or do, like, I would give away so much of the manga and I would give away a lot of the toys because I didn't need it and I wasn't collecting those particular titles. And to this day, there's a huge stack of things I'm giving away whenever we do our next big giveaway. And I always wondered, do people sell this stuff? Like, what do people do with the review copies? Because with physical copies, you know, it's one of those things that it's yours once the company sends it to you. You can do whatever you want to with it, unless it's specified by said company, like, hey, you got to return this or you got to mail it back with this mailer or whatever. But that was another thing that, like, I wonder about when we do giveaways. I was like, that's my way of paying it forward to the people that have been watching me for a while too. It's like, I think I talked about this the first time we got together, right? Like, I grew up in poverty and my mom and dad couldn't afford anything growing up. And to think about that life and where I am now, it's insane, man. It's insane. Like, you hear about how cringy the words of the American dream are, but it is true. I mean, there's a lot of us that would dream about things like this. Like, I grew up in Peru, and coming over here, my goodness, it was night and day. And now I'm doing this, and that's just mind blowing.
So you think, now that you bring this up, do you think that in some way you trying to, because I feel sometimes the same way about myself, because I grew up in Mexico, as you know, and we shared almost kind of the same story. I did have I would say a good upbringing, with my parents, but even though it's Latin America, it's still a third world country, and you don't have the same access to the stuff that you get in America until you come to America. And of course, now I feel that all the comics that perhaps I couldn't have when I was a kid, like maybe you have an issue or 2 issues or 3 issues here, but you didn't have complete collections. Now you're able to get the complete collection, which is like, oh, this is just a, I would say it's just an honor to have the whole omnibus. And I think it's an amazing thing about the way the industry is doing things now, where there's so many collected editions like never before, and you've been part of it, as a person that you're taking polls, you are talking to the community, you're being influential, you are an influencer. Although a lot of people don't like the word influencer, it's a word that really you are influencing the trends. People are getting noticed, they're taking notice of runs that nobody was paying attention, nobody's talking about, and you're bringing them to the forefront. And it also allows for the companies to look at what people want. So you are being a powerful instrument, not only for the companies to bring those sales, but also for the community to have a voice, to be heard. And I think that is something that is not lightly. I feel that you have become in some way that representative that we needed, and we still need, so we can get some stuff in our collections, which is it's great. How you feel about being in that position?
I love it. It's amazing. I mean, I can't think of any other way to answer that. But whenever you're put in a position like that, it starts. How do I word this? Like, I love it, but there's a certain amount of things I didn't think about that would come with it, like not responsibility or, well, I guess maybe so a little bit, with NDAs, right? Can't say anything about things, or things get moved around, but there's definitely a
expectation, perhaps.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. But then, you always hear the crown weighs heavy and all that, but there's a certain amount of truth to that, and that usually happens with the negativity that comes with just being human, right? And I understand, I get it, I complain too about things, but what happens is the price of books start going up. Books are printed at a different printer, the spines are changed, the paper stock is thinner than it used to be, the content isn't what people were expecting. What happens is, when you put yourself out there as the guy that communicates this to the publishers, people look to you, right? And then and if they're like, well, he didn't get this change, I can't believe he's okay with this, dude, that becomes they get a little too familiar. Now, I'm old school, man. I got into a lot of trouble, and it takes a lot for me to bite my tongue, and I step back, because I'm like, I can't turn into who I used to be, because these fools are out here talking a bunch of stuff that they don't know anything about, right? And it happens, right? And no matter what it is, like, if you put your face out there, you are immediately the person they blame for things that are changing. And there's nothing you can do or say about it.
Correct.
Be like, I have no control over the price of things. I have no control where all I can do is, of course, I relay the messages over to Marvel and Dark Horse, whoever the publisher is, right? But it's up to them to decide what to do. Like, it's not up to me. It's not like I have a secret council meeting with these people going, hey, man, let's raise the prices because these fools are paying out the wazoo for these books. Like, that never happens. Like, and sadly, I see some of that. Some of my viewers send me some of the stuff that happen, like some of the conversations that happen in Facebook groups, or some of the conversations that take place on Reddit groups. And the downside to that happening is that I have no team, right? It's just me that does it. So every bit of information that comes in, negative or positive, and the positive always outweighs the negative, by the way, always. But it's still, you still read it, right? You still like, you're looking at a comment and then other people liking it, and you're like, all of a sudden you're like, oh man, 40 people think I'm a jerk. That is in charge of all these things, because I am the face of or the in between, right? Of me, the customer, and the publisher. And and I don't mind, dude. When I leave every comment on my videos, because people can think negative things, whatever, because that is their personal opinion. I get it, right? They can complain about the paper, the binding, whatever it is. It's when people get a little too personal with that. Like, I'm like, nah, dude, you don't know me. Like, and then you start getting insulted.
Oh yeah.
That's where I kind of that's where I am now, like learning to let that go.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't delete any comments, and I've left all the negative comments people have left on my videos, but unless it's got something to do with like my wife and kids, like that's different,
That's
right?
too
I gotta
personal, yeah.
yeah, that's something that I
Crosses the
gotta
line.
take care of mine. That's yeah. You can insult me all you want to because you're unhappy about raising price or the rising cost in books. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, sure. You want to take it out on me? Sure.
Yeah,
And
because
then you also I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, yeah, like you're saying, because I think sometimes people they don't realize, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who are just there, just watching stuff. They don't know what it takes, and they don't realize that whatever they post in it stays there forever. And you also have your kids reading the comments, because your kids, you are technically a hero. They come and watch your stuff. So they hear in those comments people talking really nasty stuff about your family, about you as a person. That really doesn't leave a good message. So I totally get it. Sometimes people don't realize that, being in a public space also means that your family is on the public space with you.
And it's all part of it, right? I understand. I get it. It is part of it. Taking heat is part of it. Doesn't mean you can have to like it, right? This is why I'm not on social media. This is why I don't Facebook much. I don't tweet. We actually have a social media person that does that, because I don't have the time or the amount of energy. I'd rather focus the positive energy to make videos happen instead of like draining that positive energy because I'm reading and going down a rabbit hole of just negativity, which unfortunately happens with social media, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I would say with that, going to what you're saying, I realized that too, because I'm the type of person that I'm combative. I think that is just the Latin in me. Like if you come at me, I'm gonna respond. I'm a Christian, but it doesn't mean that I'm an idiot. Doesn't mean that I'm gonna let it just fly out. It's just I'm a passionate person. So and I remember I got into this heated conversation. The problem is that you produce content, you produce video, which in reality is free for everyone to watch. You're not charging anything. You get paid, perhaps, you get paid from the ads. Some people may support you, but you are doing it for free to whoever wants to have access to it. But people still feel that they are entitled to come at you, and they say whatever they want to say. They take considerations about it. One of the things that I noticed, because I've been doing a lot of, it's been years when I've dedicated to talk about, collectibles. And sometimes people say, well, you talk always so nice about these companies. You are a sellout. And the truth of the matter is that I don't get anything for free from these companies. I'm not a sellout. I'm just simply sharing my opinion, but have learned that the more, there has to be a level where I'm respectful of the decisions the companies make, because there's a lot that I do not know that goes into producing the stuff they do. Imagine you're in the same place with Marvel, with the Star Wars and all these publishers. You are just a person that you get the opportunity to get information firsthand to share, but you have no control, as you mentioned, with any decision that is made. So you are not to blame, and you cannot just simply go after them and says, well, you should do this and should do that, because then they're not going to share information with you, and then you have no information to share with us. So sometimes people don't realize that you are in a very difficult place, because you have to make everyone happy at the same time without selling your soul. And I feel that people don't realize the amount of pressure that goes into being yourself, being genuine with what you're doing, but at the same time being able to continue doing what you're doing without just insulting people and closing doors in front of you. How you feel about that part? Because I know that that's the hardest part. It's always trying to be true to yourself, but at the same time doing in a respectful manner where everybody's happy. It's like you have to make everybody happy.
Yeah, and it's those things too that you have to learn when doing this, when being the person that's in the middle of giving the news, and also letting the publisher know, hey, these are the things that people are seeing that they're not happy with. You have to choose your battles, and I cannot make everybody happy, right? And neither can the publisher.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why most companies don't ever care what the customers really say. I can't think of another big company like Marvel Comics that is actually listening to their audience, whether it's changing the content on a book, whether it's reprinting certain titles. We got the paper stock changed on the Epic collections.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are also things I'm not privy to. I don't know the information about contracts between Marvel and printers,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. There are things that I don't know why they have to print something a certain way, and then people immediately think, or not people, and some people, very, very, very,
Very few.
very few people, but they're always the loudest ones, right?
Yeah.
They let it know that why aren't they like some of my favorite things that I don't know how many times I can get this across is you get an older crowd that comes in there,
Mm-hmm.
and I say older, it's usually older. Some of them, like I said, a very few are very loud about books. Marvel not respecting the Silver Age of comics.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the Silver Age Thor? Where's the Silver Age Iron Man? Where's Silver Age Captain America? And like, I don't know how many times I've said it and without I'm not here to argue. I'm just here just making facts, or bringing out the facts. And the facts is that those books just don't sell as well.
Exactly.
And I'm like, I know, I'm like, I like, what was the recent one? Squirrel Girl Omnibus. Squirrel Girl got an omnibus, right? And some people were like offended, like
Offended, yeah.
And I let everybody chime in, and everybody has a right to their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But that books, the little graphic novels, the little digest-sized books, sell so well for scholastic fairs
Mm-hmm.
that of course they're gonna make an omnibus of this. Because those kids that grew up with it in Scholastic's Fair, whether it was like 5-6 years ago, now they're a little bit older, they might get this. And there's nothing that I can say to change those people's minds as to why that got printed and not Iron Man Volume 3, a Silver Age, right?
Yeah.
There are just something. I mean, if you're a company, why would you make a product that doesn't sell? I mean, that's just fact, right? You test the waters and you're like, well, Silver Age Iron Man, let's see how well that did. We reprinted it. Maybe not so hot. Let's try it again in a couple of years. And I think that's something that people are sometimes get into heated arguments about.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things that I do try to clarify for people, like why certain things get printed, why others don't. Because at the end of the day, these are businesses.
Correct.
And a business is going to make money, not going to print things that 10 people want and then make 10 people happy. And I'm not saying that there's only 10 people buying Iron Man Silver Age. There's a lot of people. But the perfect example is like, I want the Tomb of Dracula Omnis reprinted.
Mm-hmm.
I vote for my own Omni reprints every year, and they came close twice. This year around, they came close too. But at the end of the day, if there's not that many of us that are going to buy it, then why would a company choose to print that instead of something that's definitely going to sell?
Correct.
I mean, it's if you take a step back and not take things personally, I think you can see the logic behind that. But sometimes even telling people that, they get offended or they get mad at you because they're like, you're a
sellout. You're a shield, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I hear that so often. I'm like, dude, let me tell you something. As soon as I saw the changes to the freaking spine, I was the first one to text.
To say, yeah.
I was like, this is not going to go well, man. And he was like, what do you mean? And I told him, look, collectors have a certain mentality and we're very, like, we're creatures of habit.
Correct.
Like, there are changes that happen. And then, yeah, somebody I remember in the comments was like, how can you let this happen? I'm like, I have no control.
I didn't do anything.
I'm just giving you straight up what the book is.
Exactly.
Like, it's not like I can force anybody to change anything. I mean, how much power do you think I have?
Mm-hmm.
I can't even, I get to pick the dinner in this house once a week. My kids and my wife get to pick it the rest of the week, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's amazing. I know, it's just, I seen that and I see the comments and sometimes I like people like, people can be this is the thing, is you have to learn to overcome that. And now, of course, after doing it for so long, I'm getting to the point that I could care less of what people say. And sometimes I can be snarky when I respond to someone because I still get the opportunity because my channel is not as big as your channel. I know it would be a daunting task. I will spend all day and producing no videos, just responding to people. And I know that it's just, you don't have the time. Because once you get into that rabbit hole or responding to someone and going back and forth, particularly somebody that is toxic like that, you're never going to get out and it's going to affect your own persona. And the rest of the day is going to go in misery and you're not going to be able to produce anything else. So you just had to continue on, march on, and regardless of the haters, because there's always gonna be haters. But as you mentioned, for every person, one person that might hate you and might turn the whole day bad, if you allow it, there's probably 100 of 1,000 people there who care about what you're doing, and they really value the content that you produce. Now, how do you deal? Because this is the thing, you have to keep yourself, in order to maintain the same quality, you have to keep yourself grounded. How do you keep yourself grounded along the craziness of doing what you do on YouTube?
My family helps out a lot. Like I have a wonderful support system, but it's really my wife and kids. My family, my mom and dad, my brothers, they all understand now. Like when, hey, I can't come out this Sunday because
Mm-hmm.
I gotta take these videos and edit them and things like that. So they understand and they're all supportive. How I keep grounded, I watch a lot of movies. Since I work by myself a lot, I put a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things in the background while I'm editing. I used to play a lot of video games, and I still do that from time to time, but I don't have the time anymore to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about 100 plus hours of a JRPG. I love doing that
Oh
stuff in my
wow.
20s, but now it's like, yeah, I can't. Like, depending on the type of videos I have planned or the amount of reading I have to do, I just can't devote myself to those long games anymore. Um, but one of the things that I do is I do stay active.
Okay.
Like I don't go to the gym as much as I used to. I have a home gym. I have a punching bag,
Mm-hmm.
and I do go outside from time to time to go jogging. But now that I'm 45, sure you probably know the older you get, the knees,
Yes.
especially if you've been jogging a while, it's not the best on your knees. So you
Mm-mm.
want to go for bike rides or walking my dog is what I do these days to kind of stay active. That puts me in a different state of mind. I can come back. Like as a matter of fact, after I'm done with this interview, I
Mm-hmm.
gotta go and conduct my own interview with a couple of creators. In between that, I gotta go outside for a jog because yeah, being in one place at all times, especially when it's your home,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and anybody that works from home can probably see this. Like it kind of drives you a little crazy. You got to step out for a while, even if
Mm-hmm.
it's for a small walk.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be healthy, otherwise, yeah, this can all be a downward spiral of just depression, man. And it happens. I know a few of my friends that are YouTube creators, they do let these things bother them, and it hurts me, man, to see them hurt
Mm-hmm.
because it's one bad comment like that's like, oh, you're getting fat, and they see it on their TikTok and they're like, well, I guess I am. That's messed up, and then that leads into other ways of thinking, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
and it sucks, man. It's detrimental to your mental health that people attack people like that. Like I don't understand. Like luckily I haven't had too many of those people on my
Mm-hmm.
channel. They have, from time to time because like I said, they either don't like me and I don't expect everybody to like me, but
Mm-hmm.
also they take it personal that I'm announcing a book that they don't want and then they get to insulting and that's when I draw the line. I'm like, nah, man, I don't I don't play that. Like you can't just sit here and insult me. You can't come to my home and do that. Like you can rip into the book all you want to and if you feel like you need to take it out on me, but don't start with the insults. That just gets ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. You know what?
And
Uh-huh.
I was gonna say, and then I don't really. I used to be, dude, JP. I used to be really bad at that. I would pin the comments, the mean comments, and I would rip them a new one, man, because that's just my personality. Like you said,
Yeah.
right? Might be the Latino. I don't know what it was. Maybe because I got into a lot of fights and a lot of trouble when I was in school, but I didn't let anybody talk crap about me.
Mm-mm.
So it's weird now because I'm older. I'm 45 years old. I see, but like maybe it could be a kid or something to me. Now saying something mean, I'm like, I'll pin your dumb comment and rip you a new one. 9 times out of 10, they'd either delete it or apologize. Every once
Yeah.
in a while, somebody would double down. But I remember one of my viewers, he's a wonderful dude, man. He was like, man, even if you do that, even if you're making fun of them, like it's still taking that energy and turning it negative because you're still thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, my advice, man, is just let it go. People can think all they want to and leave that comment, and you just keep on moving. And that's one of the hardest things I had to learn when making things is don't take things personally. Um, you know, because if you start thinking like, oh, why am I doing this? There's 40 people that don't like me on Reddit. This is ridiculous. Then that can lead down a bad path. You
Right.
just pick yourself up and you keep going.
Yeah, yeah, that's That's great advice because yeah, I totally see it. And I've experienced it myself, so I can totally relate with that. Sometimes you have to kind of, like you said, you have to pick up your you have to pick your battles. You have to choose the voices that you're allowing in your head. You know, of course, there's so many voices, so many people. Some people come with a lot of negativity. Sometimes it may be just jealousy. Some people are jealous of what you're doing and the things that you are able to do where perhaps they wish they could do the same thing. There's a lot of reasons why people behave the way they behave. But I think that the most important thing is just to keep things in perspective. What is your goal now that, you know, like I haven't even asked you this because you have to have goals. What is the goal that you have right now that you have set for your channel or for your life? What is the things that you're pursuing with everything you're doing right now?
Right now, the main goal is to connect more with other publishers and to have better working relations with them. Like I have a contact at DC, but we have no working relations other than
Mm,
maybe once or twice a year they might reply back to an email. Because I think like look, I think Marvel, of course, took a huge chance listening to somebody
mm-hmm.
that makes videos in their basement and took a huge chance on my advice for reprinting a couple of books. And then when they saw the sales of those books, they were like, okay, well, let's see what else we can do. And this is where we are now, right? Now I get to actually hold polls for them. But if you start listening to your audience, they saw that, right? Like they
Mm-hmm.
saw that you listen to your audience and said audience voted for books and bought the books.
Yeah.
That's a win for you if you're a company, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's all about taking chances and doing things like that. So I would love to have a working relation with DC Comics and Image Comics. I have contacts over there, but it's not like Marvel. And I realize every company is different, and DC is going through their own thing right now, anyway.
Correct.
But the other thing is, I would love to have somebody edit my videos from time to time, make
Mm-hmm.
enough that I can actually pay somebody instead of having to edit every single video. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, yeah, that is the thing. And I think the problem that I personally face myself, and I can see that, and you mentioned it on that video recently. Sometimes you have to let go because I am a little bit of a control freak. So I like to control everything because I'm a perfectionist. I have a vision in my mind of how I want things to look, or how things I want it to be perceived. But the problem with that is that then it's hard for you to release some of that control and allow other people to take control of that because you still see it as your baby. Because at the end of the day, what you're doing here is your baby. Um, and that is a hard part. Do you feel sometimes that perhaps that's something that gets in the way for you as well? Because it does for me. I don't know if it does for you. Like you feel that you want to have a lot of control. It's hard to relinquish that.
Oh my goodness, dude, that is a hard question because I think about that, right? Okay. When it comes to doing overviews of books and editing my own content, it's easy. I know when my voice messes up. I know what name I got wrong, and I know which cut is better. But having someone else do that for me it was so hard to let go. So the 45 years 45 covers video
Mm-hmm.
that I did for my birthday, that
Uh-huh.
was actually edited by the guy that made all the swipes and stuff for our channel. Keenan, he's a wonderful editor.
Yes.
I wish I could afford him. He's great though, but because he does it professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the hardest thing to let go and be like, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna step because I'm like you, man. I'm gonna step in and be like, look, this is the cut you need. You need to cut this part out. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let him have at it, and he'll send me the version that he thinks is best. And he did a phenomenal job. There were a couple of things that I needed him to cut or add, and we worked well together like that. But the hardest thing was learning to not, I don't want to say micromanage, but because you know yourself and your voice and
Mm-hmm.
and the, and the subject that you're talking about, it becomes it becomes bad when you're like letting somebody else handle it.
Now,
And that
in
was hard for me to do.
I'm sure it was because I know, I know in knowing you of the time that I know you and your personality when we have these conversations and all, I realize that we have a lot in common. So,
Mhm.
and that's been my struggle. My struggle has always been, I think my channel would have been bigger if I would allow more people to help me early on. But because I wanted always to be just me, because I always felt uncomfortable sharing with others, and people came to me all the time with all crazy, a lot of ideas, do this, do that, I help you with this, and I say no, thank you. And because of that, I feel that it harmed me in the end. But you learn from your mistakes, and one thing is true, like I feel that it's hard because I have a vision in my mind. I love what I do. I think producing content is such an amazing experience. It's like it's a piece of art that you're creating. Sometimes people don't see it like that. They don't see the art. They think it's just you put in something together. Like you said early on, you just film a video, chop it up a little bit here and there, and you just upload it. And it's not. You have a vision. You're building something that you wanted. How you want it to. You already have an idea in your mind how you want it to start, how you want it to end. So in many ways, you are an artist building something. Do you see this as art? Producing content for YouTube, or just you don't consider that art in itself?
Oh, dude, this is like the best thing I've ever done with my life. This is an amalgam of everything I've always wanted to do. Okay,
Mm,
so growing up, my friends and I, we were a group of kids that, we wanted to go to film school, we wanted to make movies. All
mm,
my friends were like, I want to make a movie. I want to get an Oscar. I want to make television. When it came to me, out of that group of 6 of us that made stuff, I said, I want to make beer commercials. They were like, what? And I'm like, I'm serious. I want to make beer commercials. I don't want to make anything artsy. I don't want to make anything that's thought provoking, that's going to win an Oscar. I just want to make people laugh and entertain people while showing them a product.
yeah,
And they were like,
you're crazy.
yeah, that's exactly what they said. So reading comics, doing that, doing videos, like it's prepared me for doing this. I love doing this. I love having the capability of editing things and putting music in the background, and
Mm,
then leveling your channels whenever you're looking at different audio. This, you're putting two channels together right now. You've got my audio recording and you got your audio recording. I hope both are
yeah.
recording. But you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Oh yeah, dude. But I will say this: that gets to be a hassle when you're the only one doing it, because you'll forget to plug in a microphone because you had your camera and mic out somewhere
Hmm.
filming something else, right? You come back home, you forget to plug the mic, do an hour of recording, and then you go to edit and you realize there's no audio, and you can't blame anyone but yourself. So all you can do is yell
Yeah.
out a vulgarity, and your neighbors are like, "Is that guy okay?" And then put your head down and you pick yourself up and you're like,
Let's
I
do it
guess I
again.
have to do it again. Because there is no,
There is.
oh, well, there goes the day, right? Like when I worked in the corporate office, when I was an IT project manager,
Uh-huh.
if I worked 4 hours on a project and it got shot, it would be like, well, looks like I'll be going to the bar the rest of the day, right? There is no that, because
There's.
you're working for yourself.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's a little different world now.
Yeah, it is. It's just crazy, but the way I seen it, like you said, and I think you nail it, because isn't when you were saying that it's an amalgam, it's a combination of everything that you love. Because to me, producing this content, it brings everything that I love. With growing up, my love for movies, my love for comics, my love for video games, all combined into one thing. And it's like, this is the perfect platform to me. I think YouTube is the perfect platform for me to express everything. Like, some people can't just be happy with one thing and they're happy just with that, but I feel that this allows me to be myself and express myself. And I can see that. I see the same thing with you, because you explore not only the comic books. I seen you exploring into the movie reviews. You're exploring into all these different things. And of course, it's not as perhaps as successful right now as your comic book stuff, but I do see yourself expressing into other areas. How do you feel about those areas when you talk about movies, when you talk about video games, when you talk about collectibles? How do you feel about those?
Well, like the video games and collectibles, I usually do that with my friends on the Near Mint Collective channel now that
Mm-hmm.
they've kind of branched off. The movie reviews I do with Amanda, and she
Mm-hmm.
takes charge of that. And it feels nice to be talking to someone else other than myself about these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's why I love when my wife or my kids join me for reviews or overviews of books, because I'm so tired of, not tired, but it gets lonely doing, oh, here's Squirrel Girl climbing a tree, and there she goes. This was written by Ryan North and drawn by Erica. You know what I'm saying? Like, it adds, you're not feeding off of anybody. So it's up to you to keep people entertained. Whereas with someone else, it's like, oh, I get to talk to someone else about this. So it makes my job so much more fun.
Yeah, because I think when I think the experience, and I will say it for myself, like I feel like it gets to a point where people only think about you about and facet of your life. They only see you as you're the comic book guy or you're the statue guy. But there's more to the story than just what people see. And I feel that at the end, with YouTube, it's about you expressing yourself and being yourself. And it's a great place to really be yourself. And, sometimes you talk about the things that people don't really care much about, perhaps. But that is an aspect of who you are as well, and at the end of the day, you're putting yourself out there because technically YouTube is about you selling yourself. You're selling, regardless of any product you talk about, at the end, you are the one, you're selling your own voice. And people come to the channel not only because they like to hear about this omnibus or this story, they come to the channel because they like to hear or they want to hear from you. They want you, they like you as a person. Because there's many people that have been doing this and they are doing what you're doing right now. Not at the same level, of course, right now, because they don't have the same communication you have with Marvel. But you are unique. It's your personality that you're selling. And people are just coming every single day to watch your videos because they like you. That's just bottom line.
You mentioned something like my I can't remember who it was. It was a good friend of mine asking, like, why do you have to try so hard? Why do you have to work as hard as you're working right now to keep that level of like that people expect? And it came to, yeah, there is a level of expectancy from my viewers that they, when they come to my channel, they know kind of what they're in for. They know I'm long-winded and I like to talk about stories and also personalize the stories that are within the stories. But the other thing that I always in the back of my mind is there are so many people that would kill to do what I'm doing for a living. And it would be disrespectful for them if I don't take it seriously. And if I do, if I stop trying, like that would say a lot about my personality and who I am if I don't take it seriously. If I if I quote unquote sell out to different sponsors that are so ridiculous and have nothing to do with comic books, but I that's always in the back of my head that no matter why I'm doing what I'm doing is because, or why I'm doing it as hard as I'm doing it is because there are so many people out there that would love to quit their jobs or unfortunately lose their jobs outside of their control and do what I do for a living. I mean, there's no, absolutely. Me, if I saw someone like on YouTube doing this, and I would be, yeah, I would love to do this. This is a dream come true, and I have to treat it with the utmost respect.
And I would say, yeah, one thing, I've been doing with JP Sarricolea reviews with my main channel. I just celebrated my 10th anniversary. I remember when I started, yeah,
you were old school.
Yeah, when I started making videos, when I started reviewing omnibuses back then, there was nobody else doing it. It was just another guy.
I saw your video about that, actually. That one really hit me. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes. And there was another guy who I learned from who was doing it back then. There was nothing. It was just more impromptu. It was just something that you talk about the comic book. And, for many years, many people were just sharing reviews here and there about what they love and whatever book they have. But you are the first person that have come to do this the way you're doing it, to the level of intensity. It took it more than just a hobby into a professional manner. So you're technically have become a pioneer into this. And it's just like there's no one else doing it. There's other people doing book reviews, but not to the level, at the extent that you're doing it right now, which is amazing because it's not just necessarily, like you said, you take this with a lot of pride, you take this with a lot of passion, but the content that you produce, you give your 100%, 110%, to produce the content that the people can come back and back again because you're just doing it. And to me, like, for example, I will tell you, like, I love to watch your videos. Every time I'm going through YouTube, even at my job, when I'm scrolling through my phone, things like that, as soon as I see one of your videos, I know it's going to be good. So I'm probably save the time for lunchtime or whatever, so I can go back and watch the video. And one thing I love, and I know some people, like you were saying, they're upset because some books don't get reprinted or some books don't get produced. But sometimes I'm happy that they don't get produced right away, because if not, my wallet will be crying all the time. You know,
Yeah.
Like, I cannot just be buying books every week. Sometimes I have to kind of space it out. So I'm glad that they taking their time. But some people, they just want to have it, and they just want that tour book, and that's all they want, and they're not going to buy anything else. So I might as well just space it out. So at least I'm grateful for that. But yeah, it's just you have been, and I think you are an inspiration. You are an inspiration to me every time I watch your content. What you're going through and what you've been doing all these years that you've been doing it, when you started doing it and now full time, you're an inspiration. Like, when I feel like, man, I need to throw my towel, but I look at what you're doing and I was like, man, but Omar is doing it, so I can do it too. If Omar is...
Okay, well, to be fair, Omar's doing it because he has to do it now. He ain't got a choice. He ain't got a job. This is his job. So, but thank you, dude. That means a lot to me. And it still means a lot to me to have people reach out to me, and they're like, hey, I'm starting my own channel, and I always tell people, no matter what, like, you have your own voice, and that's what matters, right? There are plenty of channels out there that have video game coverages or bicycles or whatever people are into. And yes, this is a very niche market, but it's still your own unique voice. And that's what matters in the end, that you're being true. I never, ever tell people, like, when people want my advice, my first advice that I ever tell people that want to do YouTube for a living is, don't do it for the money. Do not go in there with high expectations that you're going to have money or people are going to send you stuff, because it took me 3.5 years before we actually had revenue coming in without wasting money. You know how it is, man. Been doing this 10 years, brother. You know the little revenue you get from YouTube. We, as a matter of fact, I mean, I gave away so much of my books, and that was coming out of my own pocket. It wasn't like YouTube was paying for that. Luckily, I could write that stuff off of my taxes now. But hey, that is like pennies to the dollar. Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When writing your taxes. But don't go in with expectations of like, oh, as soon as I start this, people are going to want to sponsor me. People are going to send me books. People are going to immediately join my Patreon. Like, don't come with always approach this because you have something to share and something to say. Like, it is your passion that will come through, but not because you want to make a buck, but because you want to talk about these things and you want to educate people. And the reason I started doing a lot of the reading orders and books, overviews of stuff like that, is because the reading orders are what I wish somebody had when I was first collecting trades, because it's so overwhelming to look at Superman or Batman and be like, okay, well, I have this book. Where can I go next? Because every book has a different title. There's no volume 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, Marvel's trying to get rid of my job because they started publishing epic collections with the numbers on the back. But it's a lot. It was so overwhelming back then. That was 2002 when I started getting heavy into collected editions. There wasn't a database for that stuff. That's kind of what made me go the route of like, okay, well, let's make some videos of things I wanted to see that would have helped me grow my collection a lot easier than nights and night after night of research after research.
And I think that is when you're doing that type of content, I think it's so helpful for everyone, even for myself. Like, even I see it on my video, on my channel, when I have done, I did the top 10 best stories for, I would say, Star Wars based on Dark Horse Comics. That video continues to produce views, and it does really well. And I have done other videos like that, and people seem to navigate those videos a lot because people are looking for value. They're looking for information. And I feel that at the end, and I follow someone in social media, another guy that actually helps channels to grow. And he talks about it. It's, if people are not sticking around, it's because you're not producing. You have to have something of value to share. Once you start, when there's a problem and you solve the problem or you have an answer to a question, that is value. People are looking for that value. there's many channels that they just don't. I hate to watch a review, and I try to watch other people's reviews sometimes where they look, oh, the art looks cool. I don't know who did it. You know, they say things like that, or, oh, I don't know what that is, so I don't like this character. So to me, that's not value. I like when there is information behind it. Like, and that's something that you do. You talk about the artists. You talk about the time when this went out, where you can read this story in between this story, what is missing. So you're giving people value. And that is something that is the reason why I think your channel has been successful, because I can come to you and I know you're not going to just fluff it for me. You're not going to lie to me. You're not going to just give me just your personal bias opinion. Although we all have biases anyway. We love certain things. Mm-hmm. But you're giving me that information that really matters, that at the end of the day makes me decide if I want to buy it or not. And I think that is the place where that separates you from everyone else. And I would say that to whoever is watching this or listening to this, that if you want to get into YouTube, at the end of the day, you have to find whatever it is. Like you mentioned, you have to have your own voice. First of all, be yourself. But second of all, find a place where you can give value. If you are allowing people to really come to you and have an answer, to a question they may have. How do you feel about that? Do you agree, disagree?
I actually really like that advice. That is some really good advice. You find you solve a problem, right? Or you find something that people have a lot of questions about. That's why those kind of channels are always successful. There was a channel that I had an idea for a channel about 10 years ago. And I was in my 30s. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was a spark plug. Something went out in my car. And I thought to myself, dang it, I really wish there was a book or something that would say things you need to know by the time you're 35 or however old I was. And I was like, oh, yeah, you could like teach people like how to change a tire, things that you're expected to know in life by the time you reach a certain age. Mm-hmm. And I think I saw somebody starting a channel like that during the pandemic, but it was a little bit different. It was like he grew up without a dad. Mm. So now that he has his own son, it was kind of like that. It was like things that I wish my dad had taught me. I think it was the name of the channel or something like that. And I was like, in the spirit of the same way that I'm like, yeah, that's a really good. It's like you're teaching people things that they should know, right? Or maybe the idea of knowing, and they're still learning a little bit about you. Like you grew up without a father, so you're teaching them about why it's important to know these things. So I thought that was really cool. Yes, you're absolutely right. And one thing that I never try to do is put too much of myself or my own opinion about a title in a book, because I learned a long time ago that everybody has their own opinion. If people really want my opinion, I do have a review portion of my channel where I do review books. But when doing overviews, I just don't. And that's something that I remember some people calling me out about. They're like, oh, he's just doing that because he gets free books and he doesn't want to tell them how bad it is. I think if people watch my channel enough, they know the type of writing and art that I don't like and I'm pretty vocal about. But that's just something out of the respect for the people that love it. Like, I know there's so many people that love the Ultimate Universe, but to me, I have no emotional attachment to it.
I like the Ultimate Universe. But this is the thing that I appreciate. I appreciate that what you do, because I remember when you talk about the Ultimates recently, the omnibus, where you express it. You express, I'm not, even when you talk about Ultimate Spider-Man, you express you are not a fan, but you don't go through the whole video talking crap about the material. Like I see some people.
There's enough negativity out there, right? Don't you think? You've been on YouTube, there's a lot of negativity out there. And it's so much easier to me, like for me at least, to be negative than to say something positive about things. Maybe I challenge myself to try to find the positive in some of the things that I don't like, and that's why I do it.
But this is the part what I like about, because even though you express your opinion, you don't, I would say, dwell on that opinion through the entire video. Like some people dwell on it. Like I used to hate that. There was and then one thing that I like about your format in comparison to other people's format, or the format that used to be before I started doing videos. I remember when I wanted to know about a story or a comic book or an omnibus, people, they will only have the omnibus right there, but they will not show you the pages. And they'll be like, I don't like it. It's, I hate this story. It's boring or whatever. In my mind, I'm thinking, but you're not showing me there's no visual references. And at the end of the day, comics are a visual medium. So I want to show me why is it that you don't like it, or why is it that you don't find it interesting, or what parts of the story you find contradict each other, whatever. And I think that is what I love about your format, because you have the visual references, you talk about certain things, you talk about the quality of the book, and you talk about, you give pinpoints about the story, but you don't tell people everyone, because you something that I like what you do, although I'm okay with that whether you do or not, but you do the spoiler-free reviews, and which it's in a way you're respecting the readers for them to find on their own if they like their story or not. And that is, I think, the challenging part, because sometimes people want you to be negative. I think that's the thing about I see with YouTube now, where there are channels that all they do is about being negative. And it seems to me that the more negative you are, the more viewers you get. But, I mean,
negativity is contagious, man. I feel like there's so much of it out there. And I'm not saying like, people, I have a Saturday live stream every Saturday at 11 a.m. I love doing that. And every once in a while, you'll get somebody in there that wants your opinion on something. And I'm always express my opinion. I never shy away from my opinion. But then there are certain things that are kind of baity, that they want you to jump in and say things, whether you don't agree with somebody, a creator, politically, or you don't agree with somebody. And then it becomes like, okay, I've learned to avoid conversations like that, because I don't, what's the point? This is a comic book channel. That's what we're talking about. If you're asking me about a story, that's the answer I'm going to give you. I think one of the biggest questions I had recently was about, what do I think about censorship in comics? Because of the whole thing that happened to Don Rosa's Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck. And that they know that's one of my top 10 favorite stories. Like, I love that story. It means the world to me. And that got into a little bit of the whole censorship conversation. And I don't mind talking about that stuff. But the minute I see somebody in the chat going, well, this is what happens when so-and-so is in charge of the government, and then you have these people that are, and they throw out, all these, all these words that I'm like, no, we're talking about Scrooge McDuck right now. We're not talking about any group of people. Do not group people together.
Correct.
Like, we're talking about this, and how I feel about it. And then you can tell me how you can feel about it without having to name call or point fingers at anyone. It's kind of those kind of middle of the road answers that I have to have for some questions. Otherwise, that can go into one of these negative type of videos. And the ones I'm talking about, I'm not going to call anybody out, but you see them with the clickbaits, and they're all negative. There's no good news coming out of these videos that I don't understand why people watch. But you know what? Everybody's entitled to watch whatever they want to. But those kind of videos remind me of like going to the grocery store with my mom and my dad, and at the eye level, while you're waiting, while you're checking out, you see the tabloids,
the Inquirer,
and everything was a negative. I'm like, is nothing good happening in this world? Like, everything. And as a kid, I don't know if they still come out with those tabloids or not.
Yeah.
But, everything was like, who's sleeping with who? Somebody's spending all their money on this. Like, it's like people want to just read negative things, and I never understood it. I guess the older I get, the more I understand when I see videos like that succeed. I'm like, well, maybe that's what people want to see, is somebody else fail so they can feel better about their lives. So in a way, it kind of makes sense.
It does. And at the end of the day, we have to understand this, that the community, the comic book community is not just, they're not all the same. We're all different. We all come with different backgrounds. We all have different political affiliations or opinions in reference to life. And that is the amazing aspect of the comic book community, is that, we can all come together because of our love of comics. But that doesn't mean that we all think the same. That doesn't mean that we all share the same opinion in reference to politics or whatever, or even religion. So we have to be respectful of that, and I feel that is something that sometimes people don't see, because they like you, they get comfortable with you, and they think that you think the same way they think, and that's not always the case. I have divided opinions in reference to certain things, whether it's politics, religion, whether there is, anything that happens. But at the same time, I realize that when I'm talking about comics, my audience is large, and people come from all different shapes. They have different opinions about life and everything. Now, coming to the end of the podcast, and again, I want to say thank you, Omar, for what you have done and continue to do with this channel. If there's anything else that you want to add to this interview, anything that you want to say before we go?
No, really, just thank you so much for having me on, man, and thank you for keeping on doing what you're doing, because when I saw your video about how you were thinking about leaving YouTube, that spoke to me. I don't know how much reaction you got, but I remember wanting to message you going, that was very informative and really true of who you are, because I don't know if I hope people learn things from that it's not as easy as coming in there and making videos and hoping somebody watches, right? There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it, and that one hit me when you were like, I think I'm done, because I did this, been doing it for 10 years, and I never was sent anything, and I didn't grow as much as I thought I could have, and I think it's another one of those things that makes me think, wow, would I still be doing this if I had a full-time job? I think it might have been different. I think I still would have been, because I had to think about that. Like, I think I wouldn't, I obviously would not be doing it to the extent that I'm doing it now, making videos every day, sometimes 2 or 3, but definitely taking a step back and, focusing more on my family, my career. And I think about that, because you have a full-time job.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. And this was something that you would hope eventually would take off. And it's not like you didn't try, because you put a lot of yourself and a lot of videos out there. It's just I don't know, man.
It's a different beast.
It's so weird now, man. Like, nothing gets, unless you're making those little shorts.
Oh yeah. Now it's just becoming the thing.
Yeah, now that's what gets YouTube promoted. So, I'm like, well, I guess I'll have to start doing more of those. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I've been doing some of those shorts, for things like just going out on vacation or whatever, put a short, and I see like the views are just crazy. It's like, and that's just the algorithm. Had nothing to do with you.
It's what you're sharing. It's what YouTube decides to share. But yes, before I leave, I wanted to say thank you for that video, because it really does open my eyes and reminds me of, how amazing this is.
Yes, it is.
To have to be doing this and doing it full time it's just nuts. And
it is.
And if I quit, if I give up, or if I don't try as hard as I have been trying, then that's a smack to the face to people like you that have been doing this for years and would love to be doing this for a living. Like, I can't do that.
I want to say, Omar,
much love to you, man.
Oh, same to you, Omar. I thank you for your kindness, and thank you for what you're doing, everything you do. I admire you. I admire your tenacity, your work ethics. I think that you had built this, and it's not just because of, it was just good luck. It was not just pure luck. It was a lot of work.
Maybe a little.
But everything aligned up perfectly, and you have taken the opportunity and the chance, and you working with it, you're running with it. Your family is with you on this, and that is amazing. And definitely, I love your content. I continue watching the videos. Sometimes I don't get the chance to respond because of my job. I'm always busy.
No, it's okay. Yeah, of course.
But I love to watch the content because I get in value from it, and definitely, it's. I'm looking forward to see what else this year is going to bring to you, and hopefully, the other publishers take notice and they give you more information, and also your channel grows to the point where you have people to work with you that can help you to build near mint condition to where it needs to be. So I want to say thank you very much. And I want to say to all our viewers and listeners, if you want to know more about Omar, follow him in social media. If you actually watching this and you don't know who Omar is, and I'm sorry, definitely you need to get informed. You need to keep up with the news. But I will have all the links, all the information in the description to follow him in social media, everywhere where he's at, and definitely just show him some love and support his vision, because he definitely has the material, he definitely has the knowledge, and he has the quality of his content. So my friends, God bless you. Take care. God bless you, and we will talk to you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.